There is one thing that I use in my garage gym every single day. That same thing I will continue to use in my garage gym every single day that I'm in here. And the interesting thing about it is as I redesign my garage gym, as I've torn everything out, torn out all the equipment, torn out all the flooring, I continue to use this one thing every single day that I'm in here. And that one thing is the topic of today's 5-Minute Friday. Hey everybody, it's Tim, head gym nerd at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help normal folks build home and garage gyms that they absolutely love. And that is one of the main points of what we're talking about today on today's 5-Minute Friday. 5-Minute Friday is where we take 5 minutes, put it on a clock that I still haven't unpacked in my garage remodel, and we give you one tip to hopefully make your gym a much better place to be. And today I've got something that's near and dear to my heart. I spent 30 years in the retail electronics and appliance business, and my favorite category of merchandise that I sold the entire time that I was there is home audio. I love music. I couldn't work out without music. I made a video not too long, actually quite a while ago now, about the importance of having music in your gym, whether it's via headphones, whether it's via stereo or a Bluetooth speaker. But today I want to get a little bit more in depth and really, as I'm rebuilding my garage gym, after I put in the paint and the flooring, literally one of the very first things that I'm looking at is how to get great sound into the garage. And there's a couple cool things about having a garage gym. First of all, when you go to a commercial gym, you've got to wear headphones. So we all wear headphones in the commercial gym for two reasons, right? Number one, for me, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I'm there to work out, I'm not there to chit chat. So a nice set of headphones on your ears, let people know that you aren't able to hear them and talk. And then also, I just train better with music, and it's different music for different days. And stay tuned to the end of the video. I've got something cool to share with you guys that I made just for GymCrafter followers. But I couldn't do this without music. And one of the great things about being in a garage gym is I no longer have to wear those big old sweaty headphones. And there's two reasons why people wear those headphones in a garage gym. Number one, it's what they're used to. And number two, that's really the best possible sound. If you've listened to the difference between an in-ear headphone and a little tiny Bluetooth speaker or some nice over-the-ear headphones, those over-the-ear headphones really give you great sound. Unfortunately, they're kind of uncomfortable to work out in. So as I look at how to make my garage gym a great place to be, and I call on those many years of audio experience, I realize there's some things that I just kind of take for granted that I wanted to share with you. Some ways that you can get really great sound and not spend a ton of money doing it. So I've got some stuff here that I'm looking at putting in my garage gym. I want to go over what they are, where they're going to go, why I'm going to use each one, and then where you can get some similar stuff really inexpensively, because in this day and age of smaller and smaller Bluetooth speakers, home stereos are kind of a thing of the past. Back in my day, everybody had a nice big, what they called rack system, which was this giant stereo cabinet in your living room with these big, huge floor standing speakers. Well, you don't see those in homes anymore, but the good news is that you do see them in garage sales. You do see them at Goodwill stores. So in a garage where we've got room to actually have nice speakers that will sound even better than those over-the-ear headphones if you set them up right, you can really find some inexpensive stuff. And I've got some stuff here that I bought for this particular remodel, which I got a great deal on, which I'll share with you. But let's take a look at what you're going to want to do to set up really good sound in your garage. And the first thing is the brain, the center of any good audio system that has real speakers. Again, not these little tiny Bluetooth speakers. Actual speakers that are going to sound really, really good is what's called a receiver. And a receiver is basically a couple of things. It gives you a place to plug your sources into. So for me, that's always my phone. I've got a little cable here that just plugs into the bottom of my phone when I'm in here. I don't use anything fancy, wireless, or anything like that. That's where you plug back in the day, your CD players into and so forth. It's called a receiver because it's got an AM/FM tuner in it. Most people won't use AM/FM stereo anymore, but the big thing is this is what powers your speakers. And when you're out looking for receivers, Goodwill is a great place, and garage sales is a great place to find these. These have virtually no resale value. So you can pick up, this is a Yamaha surround sound receiver, fancy term for movie theater type of a setup. You can buy a surround sound receiver, you can buy a stereo receiver. It doesn't matter for your garage, you're just gonna work it in stereo, which is just left and right. But you can pick these up literally for like $5, $10. $25 at local garage sales. So wait for those times in your neighborhood where they have those whole neighborhood garage sales. And I see these all the time sitting out. Just please get rid of this thing. And the same thing at Goodwill. You can find them at the shelf on Goodwill or the Salvation Army store. They're usually not asking very much money for them, but you're gonna need something like this. And what I prefer to have is something that has what's called an A and a B speaker. So in other words, A and a B means that there's a pair, a left and a right A pair, and a left and a right B pair. And what that allows you to do is to put 2 speakers in the front corner of your garage, 2 speakers in the back corner of your garage. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, look, I've got neighbors, I've got family, I can't crank things up, I'm not looking to blast myself. The counterintuitive benefit of a bunch of stuff I'm going to talk about today, including having 4 speakers, is you're going to get better quality sound at low volumes. You know, going back to those Bluetooth speakers, when you have these little tiny speakers, in order for you to hear it, to understand the lyrics, you have to turn them up really louder than you want. When you have nice, bigger, full range speakers, what's going to happen is you can actually get much better sound at a much lower volume. And as you're moving around, like I just expanded this gym to be basically 3/4 of my garage. So I might be in any number of places in here training, and having the speakers in each corner of your garage is going to give you better coverage so that I don't have to turn up the speaker over here real loud because I'm spending time way back over there. So because these are so inexpensive, you can really kind of outfit your garage with a bunch of stuff. And A and B speakers allows you to have 2 pairs of speakers set up, and then it gives you a discrete on and off button for each pair. So if it's early in the morning, I know some of you guys comment on my videos at like 4 or 4:30 in the morning, well before I'm even up, and I'm a pretty early riser. Well, you can just turn off one of those pairs of speakers. And the cool thing is, like in a garage, I'll turn off the pair on that wall that's facing the door and leave the pair on that's on the front wall facing in, and you'd be surprised at how much lower the volume is outside. I shared last week that I have a screen door on my garage, so I train with the door open a lot. And when I use the speakers on the front wall that are facing this way, I can still get a good amount of volume, and that sound's not projecting out into the neighborhood or out into the yards. That's a couple of tips of where to put these speakers. Now, as far as types of speakers go, I like floor standing speakers like you see down here. Floor standing speakers are going to give you the fullest range of sound. I listen to a lot of hip hop, I listen to a lot of rap, I listen to a lot of heavy metal. Those are typically what you'll hear me listening to in my gym. And all of those types of music sound better with a lot of bass. Maybe not a lot of bass, but there's a good amount of bass in those. And with floor standing speakers, they're going to sound great on their own. They don't need any supplemental, what's called a subwoofer, which is right here, which we'll talk about in a second, to make your sound more full range. So if you've got room for floor standing speakers, that's great. The dilemma that I'm running into is in my garage remodel. As I mentioned before, I'm turning this into what's called a micro gym, where I'm going to be training people in here, and I might not actually be able to find room, as sad as it is, for these particular speakers to have a prominent place in the garage. So what I did was I went garage sailing last weekend and I found these. These are some outdoor speakers. The cool thing about outdoor speakers is they typically come with a bracket because they're meant to mount on the outside of your house. They're weather resistant, so if you live in a humid climate, these are fine outside. Typically these white ones are not an actual white, but they're a paintable finish. So if you want to paint them to match your garage, that's great. Now the only drawback to small speakers like this is they don't have that lower end. So if I decide to not go with my floor standing speakers and I decide to go with a couple of pairs of outdoor speakers, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, I can mount them up in the corners. The cool thing about these brackets is you can angle them. So you can mount them like this, angle them left and right. You can mount them sideways and then angle them down, which is what I'll probably do, and point the sound kind of towards the center of the garage. But if you're going to go with smaller speakers like this, it's a good idea and something that's really going to give you great sound to go with a subwoofer. And this is another thing that you can find very inexpensively secondhand, because most people nowadays don't want the giant subwoofer. And this isn't really giant. This is probably a little over 12 inches cubed, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But the nice thing is this produces that low end bass. A subwoofer isn't directional, so you don't have to have it in a particular place. You just have to have it in the garage. So you can tuck it behind something. I will tell you that the more you put it into a corner, the more bassy it's gonna sound. So you're gonna notice a difference in the sound based on where you put it. But the cool thing is if you add this to smaller speakers like that, you actually get even better sound in some cases than you get from these floor standing speakers. And again, counterintuitively, I used to talk to people all the time about putting subwoofers in their home, and the number one objection was, I don't want all that bass, I don't want that thump, thump, thump I hear driving down the street at 3 in the morning.
Anyway, you guys gotta check out these new subwoofers I installed in the back.
I don't want it really loud. And again, the benefit of a subwoofer is when you turn sound down, the first frequency to disappear to your hearing is that low end frequency, the bass. So having a subwoofer makes low volume listening so much more enjoyable. So if you have some small speakers like this, and I've got another pair back here, these are kind of beat up old speakers that I had. These are called on-wall speakers. These aren't rated for outdoor, but they're thin. You can hang them on the wall. So I may end up with this pair on one corner and this pair in another. But if I do that, I'll definitely have the subwoofer, and that way I can keep everything down at a reasonable volume. I live in a townhouse. I have attached neighbors, so I can't be cranking music. I typically work out at 5:30, 6 in the morning. Having those things together really helps. So I've gone much longer than 5 minutes today, but I did want to give you guys this one tip that'll make your garage gym a much better place to train in. I do, like I said, have 30 years of experience doing this, so if you have questions on anything related to this kind of stuff, this is really one of the things I know best in life. Drop a comment below. Let me know what kind of stereo you guys are working with and how you've set it up, any tips you've got for other people. But that's all I've got for today, except I like to train to playlists. I don't like coming in and fumbling around and going, what artists am I going to listen to? So I have several Spotify playlists, 4 particularly that I use. I've got a rap playlist. I've got, I used to be a house music DJ back in the 90s, believe it or not, back when we spun on actual records. So I'm pretty particular about my house music. I've got a house music playlist. I've got what I call a Train Angry playlist, which I typically listen to on leg days. And then I've got kind of a bouncy, dancey, kind of a, not an EDM, but anyway. So I've created 4 public Spotify playlists under the GymCrafter name. I'm gonna put all the links down below in the description. So if you guys are looking for a playlist, maybe discover some new music, some new artists that you might like, or just something different, go ahead and check those playlists out. I made them just for you guys. Where I sent them out first is I sent them out in my newsletter 2 weeks ago. I do send out a newsletter every Wednesday. Everything in the newsletter is unique. I write the newsletter every week just for the newsletter folks. So you can go to gymcrafter.com/subscribe. I'll put a link to that in the description. If you're interested in that newsletter, I give you gear tips, training tips, conditioning tips, diet tips, all that kind of fun stuff. And then I send out first releases. I sent those playlists out to those folks a couple weeks ago. Over 2,000 people get the newsletter, so I must be doing something right, so check that out. But in the longest 5-minute Friday ever, in typical Tim fashion, I rambled on longer than I promised, but hey, hopefully it gives you some value, and I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. And until next Friday, I'm Tim with GymCrafter.